Hey everybody, it's Benny1 and I'm back at you with another Tremors movie review, everybody. We're moving on to Tremors 3, Back to Perfection. That's right, everyone. This was another direct-to-home video release, because like I said in the last one, only the first one got put out in movie theaters. I do think the second one should have been put out in movie theaters, because that one actually seemed like it had a budget of the movie to be put in the movie theaters. This one started the trend of not necessarily having a good budget and a great looking movie, unfortunately. So, yes, we're going back to perfection, everybody. That is correct. In Tremors 3. Whew, everyone. I can't wait to talk about this movie. Oh boy. And I love this franchise, but oh boy. Here we go. So, this movie came out in 2001, which was 5 years after the last one. And our returning cast members, there's actually a lot of people that came back for this movie that were in the first Tremors. I was shocked how many people came back for this third Tremors movie. I really was. Of course, Michael Gross is back as Burt Gummer, and this is his franchise now because he will be in the rest of these movies as basically the main character with a new side character. Like, this is his baby now, which I love Burt Gummer, but he was better as a supporting character in the first two movies. And now he's the main character, which as the movies go on, it kind of starts to, it gets a little rough, but like I said, I have a soft spot for this franchise. Even when the movies are not that good, I still got a soft spot for him, everybody. So, Sean Christian plays Jack Sawyer, everybody, and he is the new side character that ends up having to work with Burt, and he's kind of like, Kevin Bacon's character and Burt Ward's character, Earl, and shit. He's kind of like Grady. He's like a mixture of all three of those characters from the first two movies. Like, he's just a mixture of them. And he's an ass too, because he literally is in perfection, and he has this little like touristy adventure ride thing where he's mimicking a Graboid coming after them and chasing them on his little fun ride thing in his truck, and like he's promoting this. He's got his buddy behind the bushes shooting up freaking dust and shit. And he has these little rope things that pull the fence posts as they're driving away. It's horrible and not believable, but people buy into it and they're like, ah, and shit like that. And the funny part is eventually on the movie, a fucking Graboid actually eats his buddy, like right in front of a returning character, played by Ariana Richard, who plays Mindy, everybody. That's right, the little girl Mindy from the first Tremors came back to this movie. Like, she came back to this one along with her mom, Charlotte Stewart, who plays Nancy. They're both back. Tony Gennaro, god damn, I'm murdering people's last names sometimes. Hello, Miguel, he's back. And then Robert Jane, everybody, that played Melvin in the first Tremors. He even comes back at some point, and he's this big shot real estate guy now that's trying to sell this land in perfection so that they can put up condos and apartment buildings and actually turn perfection into a town and everything. So, like, we got a bunch of returning characters. And then Susan Chong plays Jody Chang, the daughter of Walter, who owned the store in perfection. Now, she has the store, and it's a tourist spot, and she sells merchandise and everything. So that's something that I really enjoyed about this movie is we get to go back to perfection, and we get to see how the events of the first Tremors movie has changed perfection, and how the local convenience store and the few little people that live there still, which the same people live there to an extent, has changed everything, and how it's a tourist area now, and they totally advertise it, and they're using it to their advantage. It makes sense. So I like that part of the movie. It's one of the few things I do like about the movie. So yes. And of course, we have Graboids. Shriekers. We do not see a single Shrieker in this movie. I'm not really sure why. Because the only time they talk about the Shriekers is when you can see them on... Bert has this computer that can like see like a heat signature, I'm guessing, and it shows Shriekers behind in this little gully thing, and there's like 7 of them there, and they're just chilling, like that's it. They don't actually show them, and they do have a Graboid. They have a practical effect Graboid, and then they have an albino CGI Graboid that eventually kind of becomes like Bert's pet by the end of the movie in a way. Interesting is god awful looking. Like, god awful. The CGI in this movie is fucking horrible looking. It's bad. And they have to use it a lot in this movie because there's a new version that gets introduced in this movie. That's right. So we have Graboids, and Graboids turn into Shriekers. And if Shriekers eat, they create more Shriekers. But now we're finding out that somehow the Shriekers start like, they kind of get into like a cocoon type thing. And then they turn into the little butterflies type shit. And we have ass blasters now. That's right. They named these things ass blasters because they can fly. They have like wings. Not like that stick way out, but they just kind of come around them and run to the back of their ass where they blast now because they like wiggle their tail and you can hear it building up, and they just take off and fly, and they like glide basically. They don't technically fly, and they have the Shrieker mouth and the heat sensor thing. The mouth's a little longer and everything, more like a bird or a vulture type thing. That's kind of what it is. They almost took a Shrieker and a vulture and merged them together, and you got ass blasters now, everyone. Like, and the CG effects with these things are god awful. They're horrible. They do not look good. The Graboid, the practical effect Graboid, looks good. It still looks good. It's the same one they've probably been using and everything. The little tentacle tongue things that come out and they go... Those are horrible in this movie. You literally you don't ever see them coming out of the Graboid's mouth and being all slimy and nasty and grabbing people. You literally see them come out of the ground, and you can tell that they're not slimy or anything. You can tell that that is somebody's hand in a fucking sock puppet. Like, I was like, wow, you guys went that cheap on that? Like, you can totally tell that somebody's just in there going, like, horrible. It looks bad. It just totally looks bad. So, like, halfway through the movie, I'm all in on this shit. Like, and then when the ass blasters get introduced, I just feel like the movie just really just bogged down and slowed down for me. And it was because it looked horrible. And there was like 4 ass blasters. And when you also find out that there's eggs inside of the ass blasters. So, and that's a new other thing that they introduced in this movie. And that's another thing too, is like I said in the second one, is I think they were smart in these first few movies by introducing a newer version of the Graboid to kind of recreate the rules to a certain point. But the ass blaster, the only thing really that it changed was that they launched themselves in the air and they shot fire out their ass. Like, that's about it. Because they saw people with their heat signatures, and even the heat signature thing looked horrible. Like, just the movie just did not look good, and you could tell that the budget was even way less in this movie. So I just feel like the creature didn't change enough to really get you to buy into this new version of the Graboid. Now, the egg thing, they don't explain anything about that in this movie. You're going to have to wait till the 4th Tremors movie, which actually goes back in time to the 1800s. And I It's been quite a few years since I've seen that movie, but I remember very much liking the fourth movie a lot more than the third movie. That's for goddamn sure. So, because it has to do with Bert's ancestor back in the 1800s. So, they will explain about the eggs in that movie, but you don't get anything explained about them. They see that they're inside the ass blasters and shit, but nothing gets explained about them. So, and of course, you know, they kill all the ass blasters, and the white albino, horribly CGI'd fucking Graboid is like a pet and is in Perfection now, because Perfection actually gets protected by the government, and that's how Melvin can't build everything that he wanted, and Bert gets to throw that in his face at the end of the movie. And this CGI albino fucking Graboid, before that thing even comes out of the ground, if you watch it. If you haven't seen this movie and you watch it, watch when that thing comes out of the ground. The CG hole appears perfectly round and everything, and then that nasty looking, cheaply made, CGI'd albino Graboid shoots out of this perfectly little hole. I was like, wow, they really did not pay attention to the details in that. Whew! Man, the CGI is horrible in this movie, and I realize it's 2001, but you could tell this movie did not have a lot of money, and they decided to put probably quite a bit of the money for the movie into these horribly looking CGI monsters. So there is a really cool part where Bert actually gets swallowed in a barrel, a metal like oil or gas barrel, gets swallowed by the Graboid, the practical Graboid. And he literally, like, Jack has to dig him out up at his house, and he comes out of that thing and he's all covered in that nasty orange yuck and goo that's inside of those things. Awesome shit. Like, that looked good. That looked awesome. The practical Graboid looked fantastic. They should have just went with more practical effects. Like, because the ass blasters, the only time the ass blaster is practical is from the neck to the freaking tip of its mouth. That's it. When they're showing like its head sticking out when they're hiding underneath something so it can't see their heat signature. That's it. They did not even make one. The only practical ass blaster that you see is one that's dead and like cut open. Like, it just, whew. This movie needed a little bit more money, and my God, like, it did. It had a bunch of returning actors that were in the first one. I thought the story and the concept of us going back to Perfection and seeing how things are there now, great. Bert's great, of course, because I think Bert's great in all these movies. But yeah, the movie was not made well at all. It wasn't. Some of the acting was pretty corny at times, even from some of our returning actors. So I am going to give Tremors 3 back to Perfection, everybody. I'm giving this boy a 5 out of 10. It's not very good, to tell you the truth. It was okay. It was a little rough to watch. I'm interested to go back and watch 5 and 6, because I did watch Shrieker Island when it came out last year, so I'm really interested to watch 5 and 6. It's been a little bit since I've seen those. And I know those were pretty weak entries when I remember watching them. So this rest of these movies are going to be very interesting to talk about, everybody. So a 5 out of 10, everybody, for Tremors 3 Back to Perfection. I hope you guys enjoyed that review. I thank you for watching. And I'll be catching you on the tube later, because I have spoken.